Yeah, so long story short, I failed. I went into a quiz recently and I failed it. Sometimes you get into a situation where you know the results ahead of time. I had been preparing for like a week in advance because obviously we have like these quizzes that come regularly, um, just to make sure that we are busy reading and keeping up to date with the information we're receiving. And um, and that was what I was trying to do. Every day after going to the hospital, you'd come back and go through the lectures I had received from the days prior, as well as go through some articles and some YouTube videos, just to help me better understand the topics. And the topics was on I can remember electrolyte imbalance. I'll be honest, it was electrolyte imbalance. So basically, what had happened was I went into this quiz and I was very ready. Went in, had prepared like mentally for such an intense quiz because with the electrolytes imbalances, there's so many fine details that you need to have in your mind regarding like the minimum value and the maximum value within the range for the electrolytes. So I just went, I perused through, had a little idea, just to make sure I knew what was going on. I knew the symptoms that a patient would have if they had a specific electrolyte imbalance. And, I went into the exam, and as soon as it started, I realized I didn't fully have the ranges of the electrolytes uh, in my head. Anyways, I did not have them in mind, and that was something that affected me. So I tried my best with the questions that I could answer, but it clearly showed I had a weakness there. And yeah, I left. I was disappointed. I was not happy, because it affects the overall GPA, your overall grade, and it starts off on a bad foot. This is the first quiz. Did I add? Did I say? No, I didn't even say that. This is the first quiz for the semester. So now you know. So, how to deal with failure and how to kind of bounce back and get back into rhythm is something that is not easy. And, we need to get used to doing, because at university, as adults, many of the things we try or do may fail. And the thing is, we cannot just stay at that point of failure. We need to learn from it and improve. So, here are a few things that for me, I find helpful to keep me going, even if I have failed in, say, a quiz or an exam, so that I can be better prepared for future challenges that may come. The first thing I do, I try to reflect on what happened. For example, in my case, this exam, I did not properly memorize and internalize the normal ranges for the different electrolytes in the body. I went in there with just a superficial understanding, and yeah, that came and bit me in the bum. Like I suffered the consequences of that. Had I read or tried to make an effort to memorize it, I think it would have gone a lot easier. Um, so through reflection, you're able to identify the problem. And once you've identified the problem, we can now take steps in solving that problem so that we don't make the same mistake again. Step 2 is to now make the necessary adjustments. Now, for me, and maybe for you, it may be the studying technique may not have been beneficial. And maybe we can talk about study techniques in a different video, but having the correct study technique that works for you may be beneficial in improving your grade. For example, I study well through writing. If I need to internalize or memorize a fact or a value, I need to write it down like a couple of times from memory, rather than just simply reading it and reciting it. That can sometimes work for some people, but for me, the best way to go about it is through writing. So I'll go study something or read through something and then write out the important facts that I need to have in order to do well in this exam or quiz. So the third step is reach out. So I would reach out to a friend or a senior in the field, be it a lecturer or a colleague who is better acquainted with the subject, and ask for some help. This can be very helpful, especially if the topic is extremely complicated, because a lot of the times if you find someone, especially a classmate, who understands the topic, they could simply break it down a bit further for you or help you understand it in a different way. And I found that even studying in a study group, that could even help your understanding of the topic, because at the end of the day, not everyone thinks the same way, not everyone grasps topics the same way. So it is better to try different methods, try different ways, and also be open to receiving guidance from other people who may have grasped it and may have a different way of helping you get to know more or learn more. Yeah, I guess. Just to end off, I want to share this and say that at the end of the day, this one failure that you go through, be it a quiz or an exam, an assignment, this one failure does not dictate who you are as a student, as a potential future doctor, or an accountant, depending on whichever field you're in. But rather, what makes you a failure is your inability to learn from the mistakes you have made. So I would like to end with a quote, and the quote says, "Failure is not fatal, but rather failure to change might be." By James Wooden. So in whichever exams, whichever quizzes that are coming up, I wish you all the best. Constantly try to improve and reflect on your study techniques and your study methods, which will constantly be changing depending on the subject. So do your best, study hard, and I'll see you in the next video.